How do you make your dreams a reality? Has it been very challenging? Why? The Dream to Rise podcast was created to inspire individuals on their journeys of personal and professional growth. Recognizing the power of dreams and aspirations, this podcast aims to share authentic stories, valuable insights, and transformative strategies from a diverse range of guests. It serves as a platform for encouraging listeners to overcome obstacles, embrace their potential, and pursue their passions with purpose and determination, ultimately empowering them to turn their dreams into reality. Let us listen to our guest and learn from their story. Welcome, my dear listeners, to our Dream to Rise podcast. We have a special guest who is a historical fiction author and storyteller with a deep passion for early American history and the American Revolution. He experienced some trauma in his life as well. He experienced being in jail and being a drunk stoner to a life where he has led homeless ministries and mentored people in the Christian faith to overcome dyslexia and ADHD to become an author after 60. Through immersive narrative and careful research, he brings colonial America and the Revolutionary War to life, exploring the human experiences behind the founding of the United States. As the author of The Unlikely Life of Oliver Atkinson, David combines documented historical events with compelling storytelling to make the birth of America vivid, accessible, and meaningful for modern audiences. David has a history degree from Indiana University. Again, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest speaker, David Jones III. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Welcome.
It's such a hard name to pronounce.
No, I don't think so. So, how are you, Dave? It was nice connecting here with you, and I'm glad that you agreed to be interviewed here at my podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope to make it worth your time and that of your podcast viewers and listeners.
I'm sure you have a very powerful story which you could share to our audience that would add value to all of us.
I
Now,
hope so.
oh, I'm sure. To start, what happened to you that made you become the person you are right now? And now you've become an author.
Well, other than my parents' DNA coming together and forming me that way, my story is like everybody else's, is probably long and complicated and would probably need a few hours to tell. But let me see if I can consolidate it to the really interesting parts. I think humanity spends most of their life trying to figure out who they are, especially in the West. I'm not sure about Asia, but in the West, we are consumed with our identity. And it's an important thing to understand. And even though I've been a Christian for almost 37 years and my identity is rooted firmly in Christ, there's still times where I go through changes in life where I'm still trying to figure out, okay, well, who am I now? What have I become? And who do I want to become? Who do I need to become? And so I think it's part of the evolutionary process, sanctification process that we all go through. And different things that happen to us in our life impact us, different paths that we choose, things that are chosen for us. And so I'd say for people who are really self-aware, we're always in a place of discovery. And for me, I want to be the person that I'm supposed to be, that I want to be, which is somebody who loves the Lord, follows his word, and serves his interest here on this planet. In spite of all my shortcomings, in spite of all my things that I wish I were, that I'm not, some of the gifts and talents that I wish I had, but I don't. I am who I am, and so I'm responsible for doing the most with what I have. And so that's kind of where I begin each day. What do I have to give today? What can I do today to make a difference and get to tomorrow?
So did this awareness came about because of the traumas you have experienced in life?
Yeah, I think we all have traumas to one degree or another. Nobody is on Earth is in any age, in any era, in any nation, language is free of trauma. I had a series of traumas as a child. I'm not going to necessarily go into those, but they have an impact, and they have an impact on intellectual and personal and social development, how we look at the world. And some of that led to some questionable behaviors from a young child. I was kind of rebellious and always looking to push boundaries and find out just how far I could go. And so those traumas combined with my own personal decisions, because I don't think we're all purely victims. There's certain things that we do to play into some of our traumas. Certainly I did in my case. Led to some a couple of interesting events in my early 20s, and which still impact me today, which is crazy. I turned 64 this year.
Oh, you're 64.
Almost. I'm still
Almost.
63.
Okay. Oh, you're still at the stage we're in. Okay. One more day, few more hours. I'll be
Yes, yeah,
64.
pretty much. Every day is look, every day I'm above ground is a good day and a day to glorify God and I don't believe in a hedonistic life where all I do is seek pleasure. I certainly want some of that as a part of my day, but it really is, what is God's purpose for me? And then I trust that He'll empower me to accomplish whatever it is that He wants me to.
So during that time you were experiencing those traumas in life, was God present in you, or did that help you realize that God was my savior and God will be there to help me out during those times, those struggles in life?
Yeah, when I was a young child, God was not really part of our family. We did maybe Christmas and Easter type stuff, but God was not important to us. We didn't talk about Him. Yet I had a spiritual bent. And it was really more in hindsight when I look back after I became a Christian that I saw where God's grace and His presence was there. But in those moments, no idea, no clue, no awareness, no sense of it. I wouldn't have known what to look for, even if, even though He was there.
So what gave you strength during those times?
I didn't know any better. You just, again, you wake up and you go do life. You wake up as a child and you don't know any better. Your parents and your social environment and all these things dictate so much of who you are. And again, it wasn't until later in life that some of those things began to materialize, where I started to see their impact. And I think in some ways I'm still kind of unwrapping a few of those things. But no, it was just something you don't know any better. You just get up and as a child or as a young adult and you just go do life, whatever that looks like. And it wasn't until God radically interrupted my life that He really became a conscious element to my daily world and a reason for my life.
So it seems that you had that positive attitude during that time, and I'm sure that gave you so much motivation to really live life fully. As you wake up in the morning, as you shared with us, this is a new day, a new life, new opportunity. That gives you so much motivation in
Sure.
life, no? Right?
Well, that's the way it is now, but it wasn't for years. I would
Okay.
get
When did they
no.
start? When did that start?
Well, I mean, up until I was 23 years old,
Uh-huh.
um, my life was about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I just wanted to party all the time. So whatever trauma had occurred, whatever the family dynamics were, whatever my job situation, all I really cared about was partying. It was an escape. I think a lot of it was driven by self-hatred. It was driven by not having any confidence and just not wanting to grow up.
Mhm.
So I continued on that, and I started working in restaurants and worked up to be a manager at a store, and was living with a friend who I'd known for a couple of years. And he ended up setting me up to do a drug deal with an undercover police officer.
Mhm.
It was a small $300 amount of cocaine, about like in a baggie like this big. And it wasn't much, and I wasn't a dealer, but I just grabbed it from one guy and handed it to the officer. And for some reason, they call that drug distribution. So I went to jail.
Uh-huh.
And one of the first things I wanted was a Bible, and I'd never wanted a Bible before. And while in jail, I began to ask a lot of spiritual questions. I got to figure out I needed a savior out of my problems right there. The problem was I only wanted a savior. I didn't want a Lord. I didn't want God to run my life. I just wanted him to help me. It's called idolatry. I wanted him to work for me instead of me surrendering my life to him. So I got out of jail, and I was there for 40 days. Had a 2-year sentence, suspended on parole, kind of a thing, and ended up going to community college in Northern Virginia and then out to Indiana University. But I was still partying all the time, and I still had not really faced the reality of my issues. And again, was just partying all the time and still doing extremely well in school. I have no idea how that happened. But it was at the end of my sophomore year on May 5th, 1989, a girlfriend that I'd known for quite some time. God used mightily to pray for me and to care for me and answer a ton of questions. And it was at that day that I just repented of my sins and surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. And from that moment on, my life has been radically different. Not perfect, but very different. And I have found that through that jail event, God goes into the deepest, darkest places of our lives, and he's there with us. We may not understand it. We may not see him. We may not be able to verbalize it or quote scripture that shows it, but he's there. And by his grace, he pulled me up out of that and set my feet upon a path that led me to here again almost 37 years later.
So, how do you consider challenges in life? How do you see them? Because for others, challenges are, for them, are obstacles, are punishments. So, how do you view now challenges since you have gone through these challenges?
That's such a good question. And I have a I have a philosophical or a theological answer for that. The reality is that I I don't like them. I
You don't
want
like
I want a nice easy path, right? Don't we all? Theologically, philosophically, the reality is those things are opportunities for personal growth, to see God's glory, and to find a way to overcome, so that when other people are in similar or situational things where they may feel overwhelmed or have obstacles and challenges that are greater than their ability on their own to take care of them, we can encourage them. And sometimes we can enter into that place with them and help carry their burden for a little bit. So it's made me more compassionate. I really would like a path of least resistance. But the path of least resistance is not the easiest path because we don't learn anything. We don't grow. We're not challenged. And we don't discover more of the greatness of God and more of what he's put in us. So I sometimes like the challenge is to take a vacation for a little bit. But the reality is that when I'm least expecting, but the good news is that I overcome them, and I do so by God's grace. And now I'm better prepared to go help other people. And so it's having the right attitude towards it. It's not always liking it, but it's embracing and understanding that there's real value there.
Wonderful, wonderful. I agree with you because no one is exempt to face
That's
challenges
right.
in life.
That's right.
Uh, all of us, I believe the Lord will give us the challenges or the crosses or the heavy cross based on how we could handle it. And most of the time, we have to fall flat on the ground before we realize
Hmm.
lessons learned and before we really grow. It's hard.
It's true. In fact, I think God gives us more than we can handle, so we depend upon Him. Because if we can handle it all ourselves, we would lie to ourselves and think we don't need Him. But I don't ever want to be in a place where I feel like I don't need God. I want Him as a part of everything. I want Him part of my disappointments, my failures, my heartbreaks, as well as my celebrations, victories, and wins. I mean, I just want Him there. But if I ever feel like I can do this on my own, I don't need you, it's not a good place. I will certainly be humbled after that to show that I really do.
Exactly. Let's go to you being the author. What led you to write your book? You've gone through so much struggles. Were they a stepping stone towards you writing the book?
I think so. I think so. I had read my parents' library by the time I was about 12, and they're extensive readers. My dad also has a history degree. I was not a very focused student, but I still love to read, and I've always been creative. When I was in Indiana, I ended up earning a history degree, as you noted earlier, and never done anything with it. I ended up getting into sales and marketing and business development for years and never really had a chance to use my history degree. I, I went to Hollywood at 40 to write movies.
Oh,
Nobody starts a career in Hollywood at 40. I did.
mm.
A little bit of money. Nothing went to screen, but I was also an actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, made a few.
Imagine I'm now interviewing an actor here.
Yeah, and I've done some stand-up comedy too, which I absolutely love, but it's not the life I wanted. But
Uh-huh.
I still love making people laugh, and I usually don't charge them. So you're getting free stuff here. So I hit a creative side, and I had a couple of scripts go to the top of DreamWorks and get kicked out of the system. And after writing 12 scripts over 10 years, I was tired and just didn't have anything more to say. And I put writing down for over a decade. And in 2024, um, looking ahead to the 2026, which is our nation's 250th anniversary, it's our birthday. I thought, well, how can I monetize our upcoming celebration, which is very American? And I kicked around a few ideas, and what I came up with is I wanted to tell a story about our nation's founding through the eyes of a young indentured orphan, somebody vulnerable, somebody who talk about trauma. My main character has a lot of it, and how he overcome and how this young, the 13 colonies overcame the world's greatest empire, the world's greatest army, the world's greatest navy, and won independence and why. And so I think I took some of my past, not just traumas, because there's a lot of me in this young man, but also to talk about just God's purpose for this nation, the greatness of what these incredible men and women did to form this nation, and why it's been blessed the way that it has been. I'd say it's a culmination of a lot of my life. So both good and bad experiences brought to the front, and I got to express it through this novel against the backdrop of our nation's founding.
You know what? I watched the video. I like it. Very
And
well
so,
done.
yeah. So you saw the book trailer. Excellent.
Yes,
That
yes.
was a lot of fun to put together. I had so much fun
Uh-huh.
doing
It was well done, excellent, and it touched me immediately because you focus on the emotion as well, and that's what we focus when we write a book or
it.
even write a script, so other people could resonate and they could see themselves in his shoes or
Mhm.
the other person's shoes. I love how the trailer was made, and
Sure. Well, you can find it on my YouTube channel, which is at Oliver's History Project, and on my website at davidjones3, the number 3.com. So you can watch this great trailer she's talking about
Yes.
there and also see a bunch of my videos, because in the book, I use a fictional character to tell true history. And I wanted to be able to segment out the real history. And so I created 90 videos, short videos, to talk about the true history found within the book. I'm releasing those between now and July 4th. And again, that's at Oliver's History Project. The book is The Unlikely Life of Oliver Atkinson. You can find it on Amazon, and davidjones3.com is my website. So I'm glad you found it.
Oh, yes. And I'm sure that even the younger generations will be able to understand it and put themselves in his shoes, because it's so easy to understand history. It's always, oh my, it's boring.
Right.
And you made it in such a way wherein it's really interesting and that would catch your attention, and then pursue reading it and pursue watching it.
Well, I appreciate
Hopefully, there
that.
will be a movie for this.
Well, I'm already in talks with somebody about that.
Great.
So, yeah, so I can't say anything more right now. When I wrote it to be at the very least like a Netflix miniseries. So it's portioned out in stages for that, but it reads like an adventure novel.
Mhm,
Um, I've heard so many people say that history is boring. Um, and the thing is, most history is written to be very dry.
mhm.
And I wanted to avoid that. So I wanted to make it an adventure. I wanted to make it lifelike and fast paced and immersive. And I wanted to write it in such a way as I'm bringing all these iconic heroes to life. These marble statues and these paintings that we see of George Washington and Jefferson and others, I wanted to bring them to life, give them human qualities that we can all identify with and understand. So many people who have read it have said, I was not really into history and fictional history, but that was so good.
Yes.
And it reads, my pastor said, he goes, I can watch the book as I'm reading it in my mind, he goes. And so I accomplished that. And it's intended to tell true history in an exciting way without it being false, without adding something to it that it's not, without misrepresenting it, and writing it in a way that's accessible to people 12 and up. People 12 and up are going to get it and they're going to enjoy it.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure. I enjoyed it already. Yes. So can you describe your research process? I mean, what sources did you find most valuable while studying the Revolutionary War?
Well, drawing from my childhood reading,
Mhm,
growing up about 2, 3 miles from George Washington's home, growing up in the nation's capital where there's so much history. So I'm drawing from all that. I'm drawing from books that I've read and documentaries I've seen over the years. And then I just immersed myself in all kinds of different media for my book. And I created a timeline because I knew my character couldn't be absolutely everywhere at once throughout the Boston Tea Party through the end of the war. So I had to create a timeline that was reasonable, practical, and believable for him to be a part of all these major events. And then once I had my timeline, I went and researched the history for each aspect of that. Now, I understand the big picture, but I couldn't get in everything. And so he couldn't be both in Boston and New York and in the South at the same time. So where am I going to have him? What is important part of our history here to tell? And so I placed him at key moments in different places to be able to bring those aspects of our nation's founding to life. And so I researched according to my timeline. Again, there's so much that I left out that I could have put in. My original first manuscript was 160,000 words, and most novels are 80 to 100,000.
mhm.
So I overshot it already, and I had to find a way to cut 60,000 words and still keep the story intact. So I had all that research and I had all that story, and I had to kind of consolidate it. So I made it.
Wonderful.
I did it. Got it done.
Wonderful. Congratulations. So, who do you believe were the most influential figures during the Revolutionary War? And
Well,
why do they stand out in your research?
well, I think it's well known that Boston was the heartbeat and the moral and spiritual brainchild of what became our fight for independence. You have John Adams, John Hancock, you have Sam Adams, Thomas Cushing, Dr. Warren, and of course Paul Revere, who plays a very prominent role in my book. These are people that considered themselves British. They didn't consider themselves apart from England. They considered themselves a part of England. They just wanted representation. They wanted a voice to be heard in Parliament. It would be like having all of Northern Virginia without any kind of representation in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be a good thing. You wouldn't have a voice. You would only be dictated to instead of having a part in the running of your lives. So that was their real issue. And as they continued to try to get the king and parliament to recognize them and give them a vote, parliament just made it harder on them. They kept taxing them and then taxing them even more and then creating a series of laws, the coercive acts, to make life extremely difficult for them and try to beat them into submission. And it was at that point where they realized that we'll never be a part of England in that sense. So we need to become independent. And you had 13 different colonies acting as 13 different countries, basically.
Yeah.
And it took incredible men, humble men, men of great means and influence, to sacrifice everything that they own, their families and their very lives, to try to unite all 13 colonies into one cohesive unit to give them a chance to gain independence. And it was masterful work. One of my cousins, direct descendants, was Charles Carroll of Carrollton, signer of the Declaration of Independence, one of the richest men in the world. And he had nothing materially to gain, but he believed that freedom was a human right. And the American experiment proved that, because most people throughout history were servants, were peasants, basically, under the elite domination of a few. And it wasn't any different back then. So the American experiment of these incredibly wealthy elite people who are willing to sacrifice all that for the greater good and for believing in the Bible, that we are all created in God's image and that we all share in same value and rights. For these guys to sacrifice everything they did, as well as the women. The women were right there with them. The women's story in my book is prominent, as is the African American story. And these guys from Boston really started everything. George Washington, Patrick Henry, and many others down in Virginia also played a huge role. They understood it. They understood the Boston men. And between them being in the South and Boston representing the North, they were able to come together and do things that are unheard of in history. They hadn't been done before, and they haven't been done since. Frankly, we need those men back in office, those men and women back right now. But that's for another time.
Yeah, when you mentioned about the women, can you discuss the roles women played during the Revolutionary War and how their
Sure.
contributions are often overlooked?
Well, they shouldn't be overlooked. I mean, it's a patriarchal society. I'm not going to argue whether it's good or bad, but that's the way it was culturally at the time. And women were not typically educated. Their job was to run the house. Again, there's honor in that. That's part of God's order. But Abigail Adams was raised in a pastor's home, and she married John. And she was the force behind him. He was a brilliant man, but she was equally brilliant, self-taught, taught herself Greek, Latin, and learned how to read and write. She educated her children. And as John is going down to the Continental Congress, she famously says, "Remember the women, remember the women. Don't forget us. This is not just about men." So it's voices like that. She wasn't a feminist. She was just somebody who believed, that women had more to offer. And in the domineering patriarchal society of that time, they weren't allowed to flourish as they are today, with both good and positive effects. So Abigail was important. Martha Washington, George's wife, was just an outstanding woman, loved her husband, and was with him throughout much of the war. It was not unusual for some women to follow their husbands throughout the campaigns. And
Mhm.
she was there at Valley Forge, and she was there at other times to provide moral support, comfort, leadership among the women, and to be an emotional sounding board for George. So she played such an important part. She wasn't just wearing a nice little smock and apron back at Mount Vernon, waiting for her husband to come home. She was actively a part of this. And we see that in many of the lives of many prominent men. There were also women who were in the Continental Army. Some of them pretended they were men because they wanted to go fight. Others, some of these women that followed their husbands into battle, famous story, and I'm forgetting the woman's name, but her husband fell. He was in artillery firing cannons, and her husband fell, and she took his place.
Oh,
Women were incredibly important. And let's not forget, all the men were away. They had to run the home, they had to run the business, they had to run the farm.
the
And
family.
so a lot of their giftedness came out.
Mm.
And so they kept the men fed, they kept the farms going, horses working, and pigs slopped, and the cows taken care of. There was food, there was grain, there was children who are still getting educated. There were businesses being run to help provide currency, to help provide to pay for the war. So the contribution of women in their own right were just as important as that of the men.
Well, you mentioned about the importance of Artemis.
Look, this, God had it right when he made Adam and said, you need a helper.
Uh,
And the reality is that women are gifted by nature to do things that men can't do. Men are quick to do things that women aren't really designed to. It's not a sexist thing. It's just that we're given different gifts and skills for a purpose. And if we do it right, we work with each other, we unite, and we make things happen. And so your statement there is absolutely true. Great men often have great women behind them because it takes that. I mean, men need to hear the voice of women. Men need to hear some of the things that they have to say. I think we're better off when we listen to each other, frankly.
exactly. In every relationship, communication is very important. It's always the key to a
Yeah, well, relationship is what we're born to do. It is the hardest thing we do. And humility is the key to relationships without going down that path, but it really is. But we always need to be better listeners. And that's something I try to be as I get older, a better, and my ears grow bigger, my mouth grows smaller.
And that's how you show respect as well, right?
I think so. I agree.
When you show respect, you're
Sure.
building trust. Wonderful. Is your book now available in Amazon?
Yes, The Unlikely Life of Oliver Atkinson is available on Amazon right now. There's ebook as well as the paperback. And you can go be more than happy to buy 1,000 copies for you and your closest friends and family, and then write a review on it, 5-star, of course, and make me really happy.
Wow, I like that, huh?
And you can also find it going through davidjones3.com and link to Amazon that way, or you can go directly to Amazon. And
Yeah.
it should get to your house in a day or two.
Okay. So what are your goals or your goal for the next 12 months?
I've been kicking around here the last few days. I'm still in the midst of marketing my book, having it just been released a little over a month ago, doing podcasts, radio, print, and other things. So, very focused on that. I want to start my next book about another immigrant
Wow.
coming to America and telling their story. I have an English Irish heritage, 98.4% English and Irish. So I'm going to start a story about a young immigrant who comes over in the mid 1800s during the Irish Great Potato Famine.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start his American experience off in a similar way. So that's what I hope to do in the next 12 months. Just have more opportunities to help people create, do ministry, and travel, the things that I
Yeah.
love the most.
And I think focusing on immigrants, it's another way for us to really resonate about what transpired before, what are the challenges they experienced before, and then the present.
Sure.
So
Well, they're
that's
very different now than they were then. Actually, it was harder then because the government wasn't giving them $50,000 and free healthcare and free education and free everything. Nobody was given anything. You came over here, you immersed yourself in American culture, you learned the language, and you worked hard.
Yes.
And people from Asia have done that. They still do that. They're not coming here for handouts. They're coming here to work.
Yeah.
People who truly benefit from the American system come over here to work and to assimilate while still maintaining their backcountry flavor, your recipes, and
Yes.
some of your customs, and America's better for it. And so, but it was so much harder back then because there was nobody there to give you anything. I mean, you were instantly homeless, and if you didn't bring much money with you, it was gone quickly. And then what did you do? And that's part of what built up the strength of the American spirit. People came here knowing that it was the greatest opportunity on the planet, but hard work would be rewarded.
Exactly. And another thing, what I've learned here as an immigrant is it's so rich now being with different cultures. And as what you mentioned, the food, the way of living. I'm blessed to have worked for an international organization because I've learned how to interact with different cultures. It helped me, it paved the way for me to interact well here in America because oh, almost all are immigrants, right? I haven't met, well, probably one or two who are Native Americans whom I've met, but
But
most
they were immigrants here too at one time. They came
are
across the natural ice bridge from what
really,
is now Russia into Alaska and immigrated on down.
uh,
Truthfully, we're all immigrants
we're
at
all
some point.
immigrants. Yeah, yeah,
We're all immigrants.
immigrants, yes. Oh, see, it's a very rich story which you could really share again to the people around here. I mean, here and even around the world. Okay, so you want to promote your book. What would be the major roadblock for you from achieving your goal?
Doing absolutely nothing to promote it. Just writing it and letting it sit, but it's published. But it's writing it was easier than promoting it because there are a million one books out there looking for attention. The roadblock is just for me not to do the hard work, and I'm not afraid of the hard work, and I'm not afraid of doing what I need to do on a limited budget. But that's the way it is for authors. We tell stories, or we should tell stories. Well, let me speak for myself. I told the story and had so much fun doing it. It was like a father-son project between me and the Lord, and I just felt His joy while doing it. And so now that it's alive, now that it's real and it's available, I then have to take that same joy and that same passion and try to promote it and hope other people feel the same way about it. So that would be my roadblock, just pull back and do nothing. And
Yeah.
so that would be an internal thing,
Yes.
and that would be lazy, and that would be whatever. But look, some people, they write the book and that's enough, and that's okay. For me, I want a lot of people to see it because I think there's something to be said. I think we need to be re inspired as to why God brought about our nation, how it was founded, and to reintroduce ourselves to the original American experiment and inspiration for why God allowed this country to be made and what it means for us today. So I feel like I have a responsibility not only to entertain and educate with the book, but to inspire with it so that we would, again, reintroduce ourselves to why this nation was born and how that impacts us today.
And it's really just leaving our legacy here on earth. Yeah, as what you've mentioned, it's about us. The major roadblock is about us, our negative thoughts, the fears
That's right.
that's
Yeah,
running in our mind. Yeah, I agree.
true.
So what simple advice would you like to share to our listeners and viewers? Because I'll be posting this also on YouTube.
When I was a screenwriter, I had people say, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a movie." Then go do it. I write a book. People say, "Oh, I've always wanted to be a writer." Well, then go do it.
Yeah.
Advice would be to sit down and do it. You have to discipline yourself. It's not going to write itself. So that's the first thing. be disciplined. If you really feel passionate about it, sit down and do it. Secondly, write for an audience of one. Write in a way that you do the absolute best you can to bring glory to God, however your story is. Secondly, or on top of that, write for yourself. Write something you enjoy. Write something that you would enjoy reading. And then finally, don't worry about perfection. It doesn't exist. I have a dear friend who's been writing a novel for 9 years, and they're about halfway through, and they try to get every sentence and every word down perfectly. And she's such a beautiful soul, and I know it's going to be a great piece, but I want it to come out before I die so I can read it. So she's got to hurry up and finish it. Just don't try to be perfect. Just do the best you can, and then you'll improve. The more you write, the more better you'll get. But the truth is, most people don't have the gift to be able to write at the highest level. That's okay.
Yes.
That is so okay. If you enjoy playing tennis, you don't quit just because you're not Wimbledon level quality. You do it because you enjoy it. And so just have fun doing it. So that would be my advice.
Exactly. And when you mentioned about that, I never imagined myself being an author as well. And someone advised me, why won't you write a book? I could only write essays. I don't know how to write a book. But then I was able to write 2 books and then co-author 2 books. And even being a speaker. Now I'm speaking in different places now. Never did I imagine seeing myself really doing this. But because of our vision, because of our purpose, we want to help, inspire, and empower people that there's truly light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, that you have that power to create the life you love. There's that talent given to you by God wherein you can share it. That's your
Mhm.
light. Be a light warrior for others so others may become a light warrior for others as well. And for me, that's success when you create a ripple
Well,
effect, positive.
that's an interesting point. Success should not be measured in terms of dollars and even the size of your audience, because sometimes we don't realize who we impact. And maybe it's just a couple of people in our lives, but how many people are really impacting others anyway?
Yes,
So don't judge by typical American standards of size and money and all that. Just make your life a gift to God who can then gift it to others.
exactly. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Dave. So again, could you repeat again your email, your website
Sure.
for them to connect with you?
Sure. Thank you. My website is davidjones3.com. That's the number 3. You can also find my book, The Unlikely Life of Oliver Atkinson, on Amazon. And I have a YouTube channel where I'm doing short 1 minute, 2 minute videos on the true history found in the book. And so they're nice little bite-sized chunks of history that are told, done very entertainingly and interestingly, at Oliver's History Project. Oliver's History Project. So those are the 3 ways, and my email is attached to those, so you can find me if you want to say hello.
Wonderful. Thank you again for sharing your
Mhm.
incredible
Thank you.
story with us. Dave, your story is a powerful reminder of resilience, courage, and transformative impact pursuing
Thank you.
one's
Thank you.
dreams. And again, we appreciate your openness and the valuable insights you have imparted. So, to our listeners, I'm sure you were able to receive a lot of valuable insights from Dave. And see you again in our next episode. Again, thank you so much, Dave, and I wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and have a blessed day to all.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Such an incredible story of resilience and transformation. The journey is a powerful reminder that adversity can lead to profound personal growth and the ability to uplift others. It's inspiring to see how each one turned their challenges into opportunities for healing, especially for those who may feel lost or hopeless. I want to take this opportunity to invite you to explore my books, My Journey into Becoming and Dream to Rise from Darkness into Light. In my journey into becoming, I shared my personal struggles in overcoming an abusive relationship and the heart-wrenching moments that followed, ultimately finding my purpose in helping others live their dreams. Dream to Rise, an anthology, combines the stories of 18 courageous co-authors who illuminate the path from darkness to light, each narrative showcasing the profound impact that sharing our truths can have on those who are struggling. Together, we can inspire change and encourage others to embrace their own journeys. Remember, your voice matters, and there is a community of support waiting to lift you up. Let's continue to be beacons of hope and make a difference in this world. Thank you for being here and for everything you're doing to help others rise. For those who would like to be a part of the Dream to Rise Inner Circle, this is a mastermind group that fosters learning and growth. My main objective is to help the members rise and shine. Be a part of this amazing group and let's thrive to be the best version of ourselves. If you need more information, please visit my website, www.dreamtorise.info. Again, www.dreamtorise.info. Have a blessed day to all.